Back to our channel, we are in chapter 68 from our guidance, that is exocrine pancreas. So first let us see the glossary terms and understand, and next we'll go into the concept. So first we need to see the amylotic enzymes. So these are the enzymes which mainly useful for helping in digestion of starch, glycogen and other like carbohydrate substances except cellulose. So remember, except cellulose, all carbohydrates are digested by means of amylotic enzymes. And next, coming to enterokinase. So enterokinase is an enzyme which mainly activates trypsinogen to trypsin. So it is mainly secreted by intestinal mucosa when chyme comes in contact with it. So remember, enterokinase is an enzyme which mainly activates the trypsinogen to trypsin. So trypsinogen to trypsin, and it is secreted by the intestinal mucosa when the chyme comes. So whenever the food, the chyme, it is coming in contact with the mucosa, then this trypsinogen is converted into trypsin. And next, coming to lipolytic enzymes. So these enzymes mainly, as a name you can say, they help to digest the fats into fatty acids and glycerol. Next we have the pancreatic acini. So this acini are like sac-like dilations within the exocrine pancreas. We know pancreas is divided into endocrine pancreas and exocrine pancreas. So in the exocrine pancreas mainly we have this acini, which are useful for secreting different kind of pancreatic enzymes. And next, coming to pancreatitis. It is an inflammation. So any itis, if you get any word itis at the end, it is nothing but an inflammation of any kind of structure. So here pancreatitis, so inflammation of pancreas. And next, coming to the proteolytic enzymes. So these are the enzymes which help to break down the proteins into peptides or either amino acids. So proteins get break down into peptide or amino acids by means of proteolytic enzymes. So now let us start the pancreatic secretion. So what kind of secretion goes on in pancreas? Let us see. So pancreas are like, they lie parallel and beneath to the stomach. So it's a large compound gland and its internal structure is similar to salivary glands. So if you see the internal side of pancreas, it will be almost similar to the salivary glands. And the pancreatic acini, which mainly secrete the pancreatic digestive enzymes. So the important digestive enzymes are secreted by means of our pancreatic acini. So these acini are small. They also have their ducts and ductules. So remember, the acini secrete enzymes, whereas the ducts and ductules mainly secrete the large volumes of sodium bicarbonate. It's a major alkali system. So whenever these enzymes and bicarbonates are combined together and they try to flow by means of long pancreatic duct that joins the hepatic duct before it empties into the duodenum by papilla of Vater, and this is surrounded by sphincter of Oddi. You know the common hepatic duct, right? The common hepatic duct, first it's a common bile duct, then the common bile duct joins with the cystic duct and it forms a common hepatic duct. In that hepatic duct, now this sodium bicarbonate and enzymes, they flow together and finally open into the duodenum at the papilla of Vater, which is having a sphincter called sphincter of Oddi. So that is called pancreatic duct. So it travels by the long pancreatic duct, enzymes and bicarbonate together. So next we have the composition of pancreatic juice. So now actually why this all juices are this bicarbonate, enzymes, all finally they drain into duodenum. Why they go into duodenum? There they try to alkali, they try to neutralize the acid which is coming from the stomach. Stomach, we know it has lot of acid in it. So to neutralize that acid at the point of duodenum, these two together try to neutralize it. So now let us see the composition of pancreatic juice. So pancreatic juice, actually how it is produced? It is produced in response to chyme, which is mainly present in the upper part of small intestine, that is nothing but our duodenum side, right? It gets secreted there. So at the site of duodenum, whenever this kind of chyme is coming, especially acidic chyme, if acidic chyme comes, then more pancreatic juice is produced because it need to more neutralize it. So like that the mechanism goes on. So actually what are the contents of this pancreatic juice? It contains water and solutes, of course, same like our gastric secretions, also water, solutes. But solutes are again of course divided into organic part and inorganic part. The organic solutes are mainly enzymes. Proteolytic enzymes are like proteolytic enzymes, lipolytic enzymes, amylolytic enzymes. Already we have seen these definitions. And we also have an important compound, that is trypsin inhibitor, and also we have the mucin. Coming to the inorganic substances, here we have sodium bicarbonate, chlorine, except we don't have potassium. We have seen already in our gastric secretion, we also have potassium in inorganic compounds. So here also the bicarbonate, of course, it's useful for the neutralizing the acidity of the chyme. So this bicarbonate neutralizes the acidity of the chyme, which is emptied mainly from the stomach to the duodenum. Because we have already discussed that acidic content comes from the stomach to the duodenum, so we need to neutralize that, especially in the duodenum. So now let us see what are those pancreatic digestive enzymes which are released from our SINI. So first, in pancreas, these enzymes are inactive. So very important concept, why in pancreas they are inactive, let us see. Mainly in an inactive form, like for example we have trypsin, but it is inactive form trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, procarboxy polypeptidase. So all these are the inactive forms which are present in a pancreas. They are inactive because if they are active in the pancreas itself, they are like protein substances. They want to digest with the protein substances. So if they are active in the pancreas itself, they may destroy the whole pancreas. So this may lead to a dangerous inflammation in the pancreas. So to prevent that, they are inactive form in the pancreas, but whenever they enter the intestinal tract, immediately they get activated up by acting upon by some kind of enzymes or proteins. So you can see they are activated only in the intestinal tract but not in the pancreas itself. So for example, now we have said trypsinogen is an inactive form which is present in our pancreas. So now how it gets activated by entering into our intestine. For example, this trypsinogen, in the presence of an enzyme called enterokinase, it gets converted into active form of trypsin. So this enterokinase is actually secreted by our intestinal mucosa whenever the chyme is in contact. Of course, whenever the chyme comes, then only they start releasing this. After they release it, this trypsinogen converts activated into active trypsin. There is also one more mechanism, that is automatically or autocatalytically we can say, like trypsinogen is converted into trypsin in the presence of trypsin itself. So this is an automatic process. Sometimes even without enterokinase also, trypsinogen have a capacity to undergo into trypsin directly in the presence of trypsin. But you need to understand, it may not automatically convert into trypsin because first the activated trypsin we need to get that. So the first step will be only this step. Without enterokinase it can't convert. So the first step will be this one, because first the trypsinogen in active form need only converted by means of enterokinase. After getting converted, only this in turn can act as an intermediate or a protein converting again trypsinogen into trypsin. So for the first step, enterokinase is must. And next is chymotrypsinogen we are discussed. It is also an inactive form. So now it will also connect into active form like chymotrypsin. Just remove the gen from the word. Those are the trypsin, in active forms. So chymotrypsinogen in the presence of trypsin again converts into chymotrypsin. So the same process even goes for the procarboxy polypeptidase. It will convert into procarboxy polypeptide again in the presence of trypsin. So you can understand that activated trypsin is playing a very important role in conversion of all inactive form into active form. So trypsin is a very important, but one more important is enterokinase. If enterokinase is not there, then the trypsin will never get activated. So this is a mechanism which is going on in the pancreas. So now let us see trypsin inhibitor. This is also very important because if the trypsin inhibitor is not there, sometimes this activated form of trypsin may get activated in the pancreas itself and lead to major problem to the pancreas. So let us see the trypsin inhibitor. It mainly used for the prevention of digestion of pancreas. Very important role is to prevent the digestion of pancreas, because if the pancreatic enzymes get activated in the pancreas itself, they may destroy the pancreas. So it may lead to acute pancreatitis. So trypsin inhibitor is mainly inhibiting trypsin inside the cell. You can understand by now only it's a very smart technique why we need to only inhibit trypsin, because you can see most of the mechanism here is going only because of this head trypsin. So if we remove this head only, then of course the small workers like that, they'll of course get inactivated. So because it is one of which is usually activating all other enzymes in a pancreas. So we need to only inactivate trypsin, then automatically everyone will get stopped. So sometimes because of any duct blockage in a pancreas or any increased secretion because of any reason, if more activated, more acidic chyme comes, then more secretions of bicarbonate or any damage to the pancreas. So because of all these reasons, there may be sometime pooling of secretions, then trypsin inhibitor is inactivated. So you can understand, if there is more load, now there is more secretion means like more load to the trypsin inhibitor, then of course it will get inactivated. So in that cases what happens is, of course again causing acute pancreatitis, because here all lot of secretion and trypsin inhibitor is not able to control it. So by means of all this process, again it will lead to acute pancreatitis. So it is lethal because of circulatory shock or may lead to lifetime pancreatic insufficiency. Why circulatory shock? Because here a lot of pancreatitis means a lot of blood may be lost from the pancreas, and also sometimes lead to lifetime pancreatic insufficiency means completely the pancreas may get damaged. So now let us see the secretion of bicarbonate ion, how this process. We are saying like from the beginning the main compound from our secretion of pancreas is sodium bicarbonate, that is the main bicarbonate solution which is useful for neutralizing the acids. So let us see the process how this goes on. So mainly by epithelial cells of ductules and ducts from the acini. So till now we have seen from the acini directly this pancreatic enzymes, especially trypsin, all those are coming. But from the ductules and ducts our bicarbonate secretion is going to take place, that too from the epithelial cells. So this bicarbonate secretion is lot released from this epithelium of ductules and ducts, like about 145 milliequivalents per liter, very high amount, that is more than 5 times of bicarbonate which is present in plasma. So even in plasma you can see more amount of bicarbonate is released in the pancreas itself, especially from ductules and ducts. So this neutralized HCl which is emptied from stomach into the duodenum. So what are the basic steps here going on? If we see the diagram you can get a clear idea. So this is an exact diagram how the secretion takes place. So the first step is carbon dioxide diffuse into interior of the cell. So where is the carbon dioxide? You can see this is the blood. From the blood it is coming into the pancreatic duct cell. We already discussed from ductules and duct epithelial cells only this bicarbonate is getting released. So first the carbon dioxide from the blood enters directly into the pancreatic duct cell. So after entering actually from the blood and by means of carbonic anhydrase, Ca is a short form of carbonic anhydrase, our carbon dioxide gets bond with water, and because of this it forms a carbonic acid. That carbonic acid further divides into bicarbonate and H plus ion. So this reaction we already discussed in our respiratory physiology, even in our gastric physiology we have repeated this many times. Again carbon dioxide plus H2O gives rise to carbonic acid H2CO3. This H2CO3 will convert into bicarbonate and H plus. So now the extra bicarbonate also enters cell by basolateral membrane by co-transport of sodium. Co-transporter means at the same time it brings sodium inside and also it brings the bicarbonate inside the cells. So this is an extra bicarbonate which is also entering the cell. So by this co-transporter this bicarbonate is entering. Because of carbon dioxide reaction with water, again this bicarbonate. So you can see lot of bicarbonate is now accumulated inside the cell, and the bicarbonate is exchanged with chlorine. The bicarbonate is exchanged with chlorine by secondary active transport on the luminal border in the lumen. So in the lumen you can see now as the bicarbonate is coming more, this bicarbonate it should not be more inside the cell, now it should get out into the lumen. So for this, as the bicarbonate is getting out, to maintain the balance the chlorine is coming inside the cell. So you can see how the chlorine has entered inside the cell from the lumen into the cell. So the chlorine which is entering the cell is again recycled back to the lumen by special chlorine channels. So again this chlorine is also recycled back, and H plus is formed by dissociation of carbonic acid, we already discussed, inside the cell, and this is exchanged for sodium by basolateral membrane. So you can see here the H plus which is coming from this reaction, this H plus is also replaced exchange with sodium transporter. As the H plus is coming into the cell, now it is again getting out as the sodium is coming inside the cell by the basolateral membrane, or by this is secondary active transport. Now the sodium enters the cell by co-transport with bicarbonate. Already we have seen here this sodium and this sodium. Now here also always remember, whenever by any means of transport, if 2 times anything comes inside the cell, for sure it will get out, because only 1 time means the cell is able to handle it. But if it is coming 2 times means it is very large amount, so then a cell can't handle it. So now it tries to get it out or recycle it back. So you can see here also again sodium has come 2 times. Already we discussed here as the bicarbonate has come 2 times, it has get out. So here also as the sodium is coming 2 times, it is get out. For chlorine it's exception. You can see chlorine has not come 2 times, but as a chlorine come 1 time, but also it is get out from this recycle process. So next what happens is the sodium ions get transported across the luminal border to the pancreatic duct lumen. So you can see here the sodium is coming out into the duct lumen,